cannot create their own people. They look for always externally to do so rather than looking at inward. As per the occupation standards, 90% of the jobs in the market need skills, and just about maybe 10% of those jobs require knowledge. But on the contrary, the students who are graduating from school and colleges, 90% of them have the knowledge and the qualification, but no skills. And the entire situation kind of magnifies problems around hiring, productivity, high labor cost, the fear of losing talent to competition, and even the high attrition. Can apprenticeship be the solution to overcome these challenges? In this session, we will try to find the answer around these challenges. We have with us today Ms. Seema Arora Nambiar. She's the Senior Vice President, Menu, Marketing, and People Resources with Hardcastle Restaurants, and Mr. Prabhakar Patil, who's the Vice President, Employee Relations at Reliance Retail. Welcome both of you to the session, and we look forward to your opinions and experiences on the area of skilling through apprenticeship. So before
Good morning, Sumit. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So before losing much of without losing much of time, let's get started. In a recent survey, it was suggested about 50% of the employer mentioned that finding skill is the most challenging aspect of hiring. And post-COVID, that has only got further aggravated. What has been your experience in finding skills when you are hiring your potential employees? Mr. Patel, would like to begin with you. What's your...
Thank you, Sumit. As you said, yes, it is true that all industries, almost 50% industries, they have a problem of hiring skilled people. In fact, when we started operation, we had a big problem as far as recruiting the skilled people. That time a retail was a new concept, and then experience and the knowledge with respect to the retail was not there when we started operation. See from where the skill comes. The skill comes from the knowledge and experience. So both was lacking initially when we started the operation. In fact, in addition to that, what I will tell you, our education system also not designed that manner that will provide actually experienced people as well as the knowledgeable people in the retail operation. So we had a big problem. So challenge in particularly in the area of recruiting the people. That is one. Second, retaining the people also. Whenever you recruit a people, fresher people, there was a high attrition observed during the infancy time because people are not aware about the job. The concept of working in the store was not there. So everything was missing. So initially, yes, because of this thing, there was a cost was high. Retention was a challenge, recruitment was a challenge, big problem for retail, particularly when we started operation.
Sure. What about you, Seema? I mean, you're also from the retail, but a different category of which is food retail. The quick service restaurant, what's your experience has been?
So thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. This is very similar to what Prabhakar just mentioned. If not further, the way I would look at it is even within retail. So initially, and
we are losing
like
you.
I said, we didn't have
network.
Oh no. One moment.
I think this should be fine.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
And can you hear me now?
Comparatively, audio is okay now. We can, yeah, better.
Unfortunately, it's raining here quite heavily, so when it rains, the network just keeps going up and down.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I was mentioning, retail anyways had a small catchment of people. Food retail had an even smaller catchment. So I think the biggest challenge was first convincing people that this was an industry that they wanted to join. More than convincing people, it was convincing families. So, it has been challenging in terms of being able to get people who want to work in the restaurants and who want to do the jobs that are expected, that are visible in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Sorry, is this clear?
Yeah, it's clear. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, so, from a recruitment point of view, it continues to remain a huge challenge. I think one of the things that, we need to start working on, and I think, again, Prabhakar mentioned it, is the way that our education system is structured. It builds the knowledge and everybody wants skills, but the experience levels are kind of missing. And as a result of it, the skill gap is so huge that by the time you actually go to market to recruit, you're just not finding people.
Absolutely. So I think the overall, the statistics says about the skill deficit about 130 million people. And if you were to look at just the retail aspect, it's about 127 million. So the wider gap is in the area. That's also because there are a lot of jobs, the sector is growing, a lot of jobs which are also getting created in this sector. But tell me, post-COVID or during this time, how has this problem further aggravated? Is it to do with more on the qualitative aspect, but even now even the volumes, because of the scarcity of the people, has that kind of aggravated the volumes of finding people?
So I think we've not really faced a challenge with recruitment of people because I think there was a reasonably good job done in retaining them. So when COVID hit, I think one of the things that at least we worked on was engagement with our existing workforce. What we did end up losing was about 25% of people who were migrant, and because of the fear, they just needed to go home. So some of the smaller restaurants, smaller towns where you saw people just wanting to go back to the village. But other than that, I think, by and large, I can't say that the problem's been aggravated during COVID. It is a problem across in any case.
So be it pre or right now, the problem exists right now. I mean, it's the same level. You are saying that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, in fact, see, because of COVID, the migration, this migration or migrant labor started going back to their native. So,
Yeah.
Particularly in a supply chain or back-end operation, even a front-end operation, you have a more number of migrant working in an operation. So when COVID started, maybe because of the fever, they started going back. So around 50 to 60% people, they have gone back to their native. Particularly retail, if you see, the operation is concentrated in a big cities or a smaller B class or C class, not in the rural area. So certainly we face the problem as far as the recruiting the talent, recruiting the skilled people, competent people, yes. And in fact, in the apprenticeship also, in the government, in the initial days, government said that the apprentices also cannot work in essential services. They said that apprentices should not work in operation as long as this lockdown is there. So both the way, and one is like recruiting the people, calling the people on the duty, running the operation, all front we face the problem after COVID.
Okay. So did you? So what about even retail? Reliance Retail is also in the essential category. Did you take any initiatives to engage with the people to keep the operations running, or your level of operations also scaled down, so that really didn't matter?
Actually, we kept, in fact, the essential services on running during the COVID time. So initial 1 or 2 days, there was like a pause in operation. But after 2 days, when we came to know that essentials are allowed during the lockdown also. And there was like essential services passes are available through the government, through the police, through the authorities, and you can run the operation. So actually, having essential services on, there is a noble, this because you are serving for the citizens, you are serving for the population. So that was like a behind so everybody's mind. Everybody felt that, okay, the other operations are closed, for as far as the essential services are concerned, we should keep it on. So we started in the beginning 50% kind of this thing. So we called 50% people initially in the operation. And remaining 50% of this thing, people we said let them be isolated or quarantined for 15 days. So that yes, even if at all there is an infection, so like remaining 50% population is available to run the essential services. So in fact, I would like to, I'm proud to tell you that in fact, currently also our 90 to 95% of essential services are on everywhere. Wherever there is like a 100% lockdown, you can say strict lockdown, and we are in a containment zone, there we close. Otherwise, everywhere we are running the operation.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, tell me, like you said that education has been a problem, and that's the reason which is people we don't find skill. The education system has been churning out unemployable people. With the new education policy coming in, we hope that particular challenge get addressed because skilling has been introduced in the school right from the class 6 onwards. So we hope that the skilling challenges will not exist in times to come. But help me understand, and maybe for the audience as well, what are the initiatives that your organizations have taken to create skills? Are you doing any skilling initiative which kind of supports your hiring function? Seema, would you want to highlight that?
Sure. So one of the things, Sumit, we did early on because we realized that there was a massive skill gap was we decided to hire only first jobbers. Right. And I remember someone asking me this question, a candidate actually asking me this question, saying, if every company asks for experience and we've just gotten out of college, where are we going to get that experience?
Yeah.
And that's always stayed with me. So, we made a decision quite early on that we would hire only first jobbers. And McDonald's believes very clearly in a basic principle of saying what you learn first, you learn best. So the focus or the investment that we made was in very structured training systems. The good news is with a parent like McDonald's, they've done it for so many years. There was a lot of stuff that we got in legacy. We adapted a lot of that to being able to train people on floor, on ground, without really pulling them out and putting them into structured classroom kind of sessions. So most people were actually sitting, they were working in the restaurant on the ground and learning what to do as they went. Again, they got evaluated, they got measured, and that's been a system that we followed for many, many years. That's actually helped us get a lot of the younger guys in. They're very keen to make a difference. They're very, very keen to contribute back to their families. And sometimes it amazes me as to what the enthusiasm at that group is. So as long as you just have a structured training program that builds on skills of what they're doing, I think that just helps to be able to alleviate or reduce the gap a lot. So retail, I think to me, even globally, is a stepping stone to your next career. So it's the best place to actually get experience so that then you have the skill as well as the knowledge.
What about you, Mr. Patil? What has been your experience? I mean, what Reliance Retail is taking for skilling people?
Whatever Seema said, absolutely true. I divide this part into two periods. In 2016, the government of India introduced this new policy of a skill development. Under this policy, one thing is like there is like a skilling partners started working in the area of a skill development. So we use these skilling partners for the development of our talent pool, particularly in retail. You understand, I said the kind of challenge we faced, we started the operation. But the moment skilling partner scheme has been introduced, we engage with our skilling partners pan-India. So we engage with almost 7 to 8 skilling partners everywhere. So whenever we are looking for new manpower, whenever we were in an expanding mode and we are looking for a skilled and a competent manpower. So we engage through these skilling partners, what Seema mentioned about a structured way. So we have created one model wherein 3 months like a classroom training for the people. So it was as per our requirement, business requirement, everything was, the syllabus was designed, training course has been designed, and that model has been handed over to the skilling partner. And the one good part under that policy was the government was incentivizing or financing to the skilling partners. So as far as the training is concerned, there is no cost to the corporation. Okay, so like a 3 months or 2 months training to the people. Once training is done, they absorb in a regular job in the store. So like you have already trained person available working for the operation in the store. So that way, initially, with the help from the skilling partners, we took, actually we overcome the challenge of having a skilled people. So that is one area. 2017, again, the NetApp has been introduced. So we thought, okay, yes, there was a partnership with the skilling partner. But after introduction of a NetApp, we also thought that a lot of flexibility has been given under this policy, particularly the skill development policy, so the National Skill Development Board. So we thought, okay, why not have a trade as per our requirement? So we, in fact, I could say Reliance is a pioneer who introduced retail associate trade in under apprenticeship. In fact, that has been done in the year 2008 only. 2008, there was a designated trade has been created as a retail associate for 6 months and 1 year. So that was initially suggested by we, and syllabus, everything has been supplied by us. So based on that, trade was designed, but that time it has some limitations, regulations, controls. That problem was there. But when we started the optional trade under the NetApp, so that really helped us, because that is like you have an extended learning of the candidate with the organization. You have that candidate for 1 year. You will keep on like earn and learn and balance between a theory and practical. So everything can be achieved in apprenticeship.
So, Mr. Prabhakar, so in fact, that exactly was going to be my next question, which I've already answered, was that, what has been your take on apprenticeships? And you said that your organization is already using apprenticeships at this point of time. So I think if you could just continue and kind of elaborate that how apprenticeship, I think the other day when we were talking, you mentioned like a huge figure that apprentices that you're deploying, which is very heartening to see, because not very many employers in the country today are doing apprenticeships. So what is your take, your opinion, experience? Of course, we would love to hear, which you were saying. Sorry for kind of interrupting you there, but with your opinion, please do elaborate and substantiate.
Yeah, Sumit, as you know, globally, apprenticeship has been recognized as an efficient way of developing talent.
Yes.
So, in fact, we use this because after the introduction of this policy, a lot of flexibility has been brought into the entire apprenticeship program. Earlier, it was like a regulated trade kind of this thing, but currently it is a self-regulated kind of this thing. A lot of flexibility, like you can have a trade between 6 months to 3 year kind of. The trade as per your business requirement. You can have a trade for apprenticeship. You can have a trade for a computer application. You can have a trade for logistics. So many these things are available, and that flexibility has been given by the government, by the apprenticeship board. There are designated trade also which have been looked after by the apprenticeship, state apprenticeship, but there are like optional trades which you can create and take approval from the board and can recruit the people under that program. So that really helped us. We created one year program as a retail associate, and the idea is to like recruit the people from the rural areas, give the chance to the rural areas, create a talent pool for the new opening stores. That was the idea. Like it's a apprenticeship is a combination of a theory and practical training. So we thought, and everywhere generally Reliance we have a offices and infrastructure available. So we thought we'll convert that into a basic training center. So initial, whatever the requirement for basic training classroom, we'll do that with that. And then thereafter, these people can have a on-job training. So we started this in 2017. Okay. In fact, government was flexible enough to grant a permission. That is one. Second, they allowed us to recruit pan-India everywhere. It is not like a limited to Maharashtra or Gujarat kind of. So they said, recruit pan-India. So like a permission by the Central Apprenticeship Board. So then we started recruiting people under this thing. So we started with a 1-2 initially, but thereafter, what we came to, like the candidates available in the portal itself. When you go for the registration, the candidate itself, they register under the portal. So you get a candidate from a portal also. So that is one more advantage available under this.
Sure, sir. Seema, what has been your take on apprenticeship? I know you said that you started pretty late in the day.
Yeah.
Apprenticeship. What stopped you from doing it earlier, and what is it that you're doing now?
So I'm really pleased with the changes that they're making in the Apprentice Act, because honestly, everybody in the country deserves to get a job, right? And I think the title of your series is absolutely apt. So I'm really glad that the government has opened it up, and I understand that they came from a place that they didn't want them to be taken advantage of. But I think as corporates have also formed, I'm assuming there'll be enough governance to be able to take care of it. We've started the apprentice program. We've started to take them in both in Kerala as well as in Gujarat. I think that we find very similar performance to anybody else when they come on board. They're all very keen to learn and they're very keen to make a difference. Some of the challenges, I think, is that because they're coming from rural areas or they're coming from semi-urban areas, their ability, and because we're still only present in the larger metros, their ability to adjust to a metro becomes a challenge. And the other challenge that I really see with them is their ability to communicate. Because they're so trained in local language, their ability to move to either Hindi or English becomes the second challenge that we see with the apprentices. Although we are working on various programs to kind of help acclimatize them to these things. I think that the new changes are fantastic, and as long as they get the opportunity to earn and learn, I think it'll really, really help us to be able to get or mobilize a much larger workforce that then will become an advantage not only to retail but to the industries at large. So I'm actually, the only point that I will say, Sumit, is and I think we talked about this the other day. I don't know if they need to be called apprentices, right? And I like what Prabhakar said, which is that they've called them associates. I think a lot of it is about how do you also make it a no-collar job versus white and blue, right? So I think that part still needs to be worked on. And as long as we're able to work on that side of it, we should be good.
Sure. So I think I would just like to make a statement here. Is it that the apprenticeship is considered more negative here or a little derogatory? Because apprenticeship is all about learning by doing. It is one of the form of learning. It's just that you're not sitting in an air-conditioned or a controlled classroom. You're doing it learning by doing, which is how you gain your proficiency. So do you think that still there is a that India needs to evolve as a community where they accept apprentice as a tag rather than looking at as a, not taking it as in a right spirit? Is that so?
So my personal opinion on this one is yes, we do need to evolve because culturally as a country, we need to be okay with working with our hands. If you talk to a lot of the parents of the kids who come in, they still want their kids to get managerial jobs. So in the past, I've had conversations with a lot of our managers who've said that we didn't tell our parents for the first, maybe couple of years that we were working with McDonald's till we got the tie. So the tie became a really big sign for them to say, now I've arrived. They love the job.
It's about the prestige, their aspiration.
It's about yes. Sure. It's what I can take home.
Sure. So, Seema, like you said that you started now doing apprenticeship, you're doing in a few of the states. What are the early visible signs that you're witnessing by appointing these apprentices? What are those visible signs that you can see that these people are displaying at work, at training, which possibly you wouldn't see if you were to hire just a person in a regular or in a normal situation?
So I think the good news for us, Sumit, is that they're definitely at par with all our existing guys. We're not seeing integration into the workforce being difficult. So we're not seeing any kind of difficulty there because as a brand, we hire first jobbers, like I mentioned. And so everybody's new to industry. So our managers are taught how to coach right at the start gate. And they know, in their heads, they don't make these differences about saying these guys have come from here or these guys have come from here. So I think I'm very positive. It could result in a much, much more solid workplace. And like I mentioned the other day, McDonald's EVP is really structured around building skills for life. Yes. So from that point of view, I think, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the program actually, how it actually unravels itself with the new education policy, and all of that coming. And I think, I mean, I'm very hopeful for the future.
Sure. What about you, Mr. Patil? What are the visible signs that you see for engaging with the apprenticeship? What kind of output and outcome that you are witnessing with apprentices?
Yeah, see, so with, as Seema said, yes, they are equally good. Definitely they are equally good. There are two, three things which I wanted to mention here. We reached up to 7,000 as per the apprenticeship under retail trade is concerned. Our experience as far as hiring these candidates, because they come here for come here on a 1-year apprenticeship contract. So the retention rate, particularly with the apprenticeship people, so it's very high compared to the regular candidates. That is what we expect. Second, this thing, because the retention rate is high, then you come out of the like a regular hiring administrative hassle. So in case like you are hiring a regular person, so you have to like have joining formalities, then nominations, then so many things you have to do under joining this. So again, there is attrition, again the new person. So when you have a more number of people coming and going, so your administrative hassle keep on increases. So that we, in fact, after recruitment of apprentices, that has been reduced. Second, you see, compared to the fresher, they are, as far as the working style, as far as the positiveness while working, learning, particularly because they have come with a mind of learning. So it's particularly has been observed very high with these people. And in fact, there is one more advantage. If at all like you find a particular person is very good attitude-wise, working-wise, or performance-wise, you can immediately absorb that person in a regular employment. So that is the one advantage to the employer. So you can have a very good person working in the organization, and in place of that, immediately you can recruit one more apprentice in your organization. Second, this thing, as per the apprenticeship is concerned, it's available comparable to the lower cost, 50% cost of this thing. So these are like a three-way advantage. This is an advantage to the employer. That is when you are getting a large scale of manpower under the apprenticeship category. Second, it is advantage to the candidate itself because he is getting an opportunity to learn under the particular scheme. So at the end of the period, he will be getting an apprenticeship certificate which is valid everywhere, like a government recognized certificate. So his marketability also get increases. Okay.
Enhanced.
And
True.
for government also, it is because they are like a working on increasing the employment. So it is like a indirectly or directly supporting for generating the employment at everywhere. So that is like a big advantage for all three players: government, candidate, as well as the corporate.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I think, yes, I think some of the visible that we also did a white paper and we realized that the survey suggested in that white paper that even the productivity levels of the people increases, and that kind of results in better revenues and business output.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Have you seen those kind of visibility in your business? Has it improved your business efficiencies?
Yeah, definitely it has improved. Yeah.
Sure.
What we could see, even particularly in a 2-3 formats, what we'd see like whenever we open a new store, so we have these apprentices. Okay, so with the help from these apprentices, in fact, we started the operation in the beginning itself, and the productivity kind of everything we received from these people absolutely at par with like a regular or competent or skilled people.
Sure. So both of your organizations are growing organizations. You know, there's a whole expansion plan that we get to read about that McDonald's is going to expand. It's come up with so many new outlets. Reliance, of course, has been in news for expansion and various other models that you're experimenting and coming up with. How do you think that apprenticeship you're going to leverage on that? You know, for your growth expansion, because people are required to man these stores or these outlets. How do you think apprenticeship will add value there?
Certainly, see, we are in a growing expansion mode. So definitely, whenever we open a new operation or new stores, we look for a trained and competent manpower. So this is the one area where which you give a advantage to have a like a 10 to 15% people under the whatever the quota, you can say quota or the limit given by the apprenticeship board. So we can have that much number for people. These are the people like a buffer people available to you in case, even though there is attrition, this thing, so you can use these people for whenever like you are starting a new operation, new stores, we can use this. So what we do whenever we like take these people, they get trained in a particular stores, and after completion of their training or even between also, whenever like we're opening a new store or a new operation, we can like depute these people to the regular operation kind of thing.
Fantastic.
Learning as well as yeah.
Sure. Seema, what's your take on that? Do you think apprenticeship can support your growth strategy?
Absolutely. I think, just the fact that the government's actually increased the number of people that we could look at recruiting. Absolutely, as long as we continue to keep the inflow. So one of the biggest issues in any kind of recruitment, right, and not just apprentices, is always the source. And as long as the government is able to give you that source, I think, this is absolutely having people who are ready to work is the only requirement, at least at McDonald's.
Fantastic. Nice to hear your thoughts on that. What's going to be your parting shot for your peer, industry peer on apprenticeship? What is the suggestion, recommendation that both of you would like to give them?
See, Sumit, as far as the industry peers are concerned, what I say is last year also, in fact, we started another program, BBA Retail. Okay, so that is a one more program available under the apprentice scheme. So again, this is a very good program wherein you can have a graduate student. Graduate means those who are undergoing the graduation. There are 2-3 courses has been approved by the National Skill Development and by the Education Department also, like a BBA Retail or BBA Logistic kind of. So now we have entered into the tie-up with the 7-8 colleges wherein we are running these courses. The idea is that there are people available who are undergoing the graduation course. These people can be like one opportunity we are giving to the student, learn and earn. That is one. This thing, you will be giving a training to the people like you are developing a student or a college mate for a future leadership or future manager kind of requirement. So that is one more advantage. They will be there in a college as well as simultaneously they are working with you. So the percentage of retention is also higher because the idea is like they are undergoing the graduation course while doing the work in the store as well as while undergoing the classroom training with the college. So in a long run, definitely this will help us to have a large number of managers, so like a trained, competent manager available to the operation. That is one. As far as the apprenticeship trade is concerned, yes, in a COVID time also and otherwise also it's available to you. People, you can develop your talent pool using this scheme particularly. You can have 10-15% of manpower for this.
So your recommendation is that. Sorry, sir. Sorry, please go ahead.
In fact, we are looking for a more number of a quota. I will see, unless and until the current quota has been utilized, government is not going to sanction the additional quota. So my request to the industry is that they should utilize the quota so that the government from 15%, we can reach up to the 30%.
Fantastic. So your recommendation is mostly to your industry peers is on the talent development and how it can help you possibly even in your, in your further at the managerial level also, you can build that talent pipeline. Seema, what would be your recommendation and suggestions?
So I think I'd break the answer into 2 parts, right? One is the intangible benefit of doing this. As corporates, we all have an accountability to be able to help this country move forward. And I think, hats off to Reliance. In a lot of cases, they've been at the forefront of doing a lot of that. Because I think, as long as all of us realize that that's what's going to get our next generation to come ahead, we all have that accountability to do that. The second part of it is, while all the intangibles are great, tangible benefits, I think, like Prabhakar mentioned, is very clearly 3-way. For the students, we need to make sure that the skills are imparted for them to be employable over a longer term period. Today careers are no longer ending at 58. You do need that long-term, consistent learning, journey to happen. And if we are able to kickstart it right out early, that'll really help the longer term. I think from organizations, it does help you to balance the cost of operation while still ensuring that you have a steady pipeline of people. So you're never stuck with not being able to service customers, right? And from a government standpoint, it's a win-win both sides. So I would definitely encourage other partners, other companies to look at this, but look at it from a wider spectrum, not just from a company angle, right? It shouldn't just be looked at from an operating cost angle, but it should be looked at in its entirety.
Fantastic. I think that's really words of wisdom from both of you, and I'm sure we'll learn quite a lot from this. So with that, I think we'll come to an end to my questions, but we do have questions coming in from the audience, and let's take them one by one. So the one of them it's coming is that what is your take on degree apprenticeships? And Mr. Patil, since you are already doing, you mentioned that you're doing something on the BWalk stuff. Would you want to elaborate or take this question and further elaborate something on this? Although I know that you have mentioned what you're doing, but what is your take? How do you think we can improve this?
Yeah, so in fact, I would say this is a very good scheme available for developing talent, particularly in a managerial category. Uh, uh, this helps. One is like a student to have a practical training as well as a learning at a college. He's working, he's like a learning on both the fronts, as at the college level as well as the practical level at the operation level. So one side, like generally you will see the current education system or the kind of degree courses that doesn't give a practical training. So that is the problem. So if you have a such kind of courses, BBA retail, BBA logistics, this certainly will help the student to undergo a practical training. Okay. In a long run, organization also will get a benefit because you are developing like a future managers for the operation. So like in a 2-3 years time, you develop a talent among the people which are available after completion of degree. They are usually available to people to take up the managerial role in your organization. So it's a both way.
Sure. So, and I think what Seema also mentioned a while back that, people are, it's not aspirational, it's not desirable. So maybe with that, with degree apprenticeships coming in, it may add that desirable factor to apprenticeship and people will take pride in doing apprenticeships. So another question is that during, are you covering your apprentices under any special medical coverage or insurance covering during these COVID crises?
Yeah, actually, there is a proposal of a covering under the COVID insurance. Currently, see, these people are covered under the workman compensation insurance. It is available to everybody, but generally GHI, and they are not covered under the medical for GHI medicals. That is the problem. So our attempt is to bring them under the COVID insurance policy currently. Yes, so we are looking for that possibility.
Sure. Seema, are you doing any special coverage, insurance coverage for your trainees, for your apprentices?
So they don't get covered under ESIC. We do have the general compensation coverage at this point of time. What we also do is we have a network within the restaurants that kind of help out, in case there is, obviously our numbers are not as big as Mr. Patil, but we need to find an answer to the insurance piece before, we can actually expand that.
Okay. There's another thing which is coming in, that what is your, your take on the, or what are the percentage or ratio of soft skills that happen in the overall training, apprenticeship training? Is there emphasis on soft skills? And I mean, do you emphasize on soft skills, both of you, in your organization?
Yeah, we emphasize generally during a basic training or a classroom training, we generally emphasize on giving a soft skill also. So that is there. So it is a combination
in our case,
of
because in our case, because a lot of it is on the job and in the restaurant, there's a significant portion that talks about the softer skills. We hire for certain behaviors which are very basic, and then you amplify those as you're actually getting through the process. And because it's a straight up customer facing job, you have to be able to inculcate those soft skills both in curriculum as well as in practice.
Okay. There's another thing, right now with the current situation, and I think that came out was that digital skills are going to be the new soft skills. What's your take on this? Are you doing any any skilling on the digital skills? Are you doing any such activity, any training, or you are yet to get started?
It is already started. Actually everywhere, all organizations, they are connected on a Microsoft Team or Zoom and this thing. So digital is a today's requirement. Unless and until you are digitalized, you cannot work in a today's system. So everywhere attempt is like a people should get trained as far as the digital working is concerned. So, in fact, we connect with our associate, we connect with everybody, all manpower, even supply chain, backend manpower using Microsoft Team or Zoom. So that has already been started. So now slowly, even the associate, they are getting trained on we have a, ASS or self-service point of this thing. So they started using that while working in the operation also. So it's a today's requirement. There is no alternative for that. So you have to have a digital skill.
Sure. What about you, Seema? Are there a business model around digitization? And are you
interesting
people
point.
Sorry, please go ahead.
The interesting point is, I think they can skill you on digitalization because then they're natives. Early on in the COVID session, we actually started to do work from home training all the way down to the lowest common denominator. And the adoption was phenomenal. We were actually hesitant about how much they would be able to adapt to it. But their adaptation of that to being able to put those 3-4 hours a day on their devices was phenomenal. A lot of our restaurants are getting digitized, so they have to be able to kind of explain. And I've had customers tell me that these kids are superb when it comes down to understanding how to work with technology. So, at the end of it, I think they are natives. What we do have to do is get the company up to speed with what digital means and hence what expectations are. Otherwise TikTok would not have that many users.
True. Interesting question coming in is, what is the career progression one can expect or career growth one can expect, an apprentice can expect in your organization? Please, both of you, I think it'll be career progression path.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Prabhakar, go ahead.
So in my experience, there are people who are recruited as apprentice in our organization. They have grown to the extent of ASM, SM to the extent in some of the stores. So definitely, whenever they joined as an associate, but that comes under not an unskill, they come under the semi-skill or skill category. So thereafter, then they in their mind they have a career in the retail is there in their mind. So generally, our attempt is to provide a career growth even to the associate and the skilled people whosoever has a competency. So generally, they are 12th class or even sometimes they are graduate also, which initially joined under apprenticeship. So there are examples where from associate they have reached to the even store managers level. Particularly if you see about a BBA course, definitely there is a advantage available to the students. They can join in a managerial category, and from thereafter they can have a career path in a retail operation itself. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
What about you, Seema?
Yeah, so I think like Prabhakar mentioned, I think as long as they integrate with your workforce, beyond the point of recruitment, they stop being apprentices in our head. Right? Then they go through the normal rung of how they need to be able to provide, how they need to progress within the structure. We have seen people who've grown up to being restaurant managers, some even to becoming consultants. At the same time, you've also seen a failure rate. So I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that they integrate within the structure and understand that they have to be able to move along the same career trajectory as everybody else. And the opportunities are the same.
Yeah. Sure. Interesting. So I think we have just kind of finished our timeline, but we'll possibly extend by a minute or so. A very interesting question again, another one coming in, that what percentage of apprentice become your on-roll employees? What's your absorption rate from your apprentice to employees? Do you have such thing happening?
So in our case, I would say almost 70 to 80% people are getting absorbed in a
Fantastic.
regular. Yeah, so that is the ratio.
That's huge. That's very nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Seema?
Yeah, so we'd be about maybe a little lower, so at about 60%, because a lot of them, just can't cope with the restaurant business per se. And like I mentioned, a lot of them just want to go home. They don't want to be in the big cities. And because of our lack of presence in a lot of the smaller places, that's where we really lose our people too. So those are the two key reasons. But otherwise, they integrate well.
So maybe we'll take one last question here. It's again on digitization. What they're saying is that in the time of COVID, are you doing apprenticeship digitally? Are there any job roles that you are doing for which you can do apprenticeship digitally? It's not about the digital skills, where you say that you are training people on digital skill, but the whole process of apprenticeship is happening digitally. Are you doing? Are there any job roles? Are you doing anything right now?
The answer is no. I
No.
really
The
don't
answer
know
is
because I really don't know whether you are allowed to conduct online courses. Okay, though you are required a classroom training for like 3 months or 2 months kind of, when some courses 60 hours. But we really need to check with the board whether online this thing is allowed or not allowed. If it is allowed, so certainly we can think on that. But
there are
I think
certain job roles which you feel can be done digitally.
yeah, that can be done digitally. Yes, if it is allowed. I really don't know whether it is allowed.
Sure. What about you,
Online.
Same as Prabhakar, the answer is
Sure.
no. Because most of our roles are on the floor and in the restaurant till we don't open our in-store restaurants. It's going to be very tough to get them to do roles digital. Because this is all, and this is the same with all our front of the house. It's not like they're being treated differently. And I think the second part is what he mentioned, which is, do the apprenticeship programs actually allow digital training? Because even the government is taking its time to adjust to this whole concept of online. There's also a traditional mindset, both in terms of the academics in the country as well as the government, on what online really means. So I think once they allow that, I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunity beyond just front of house jobs.
There are many more questions, but because of paucity of time, we'll not be able to take all of them. But we'll try to address all these questions. Maybe after the event, we'll try to respond to them. Thank you so much, Seema. Thank you so much, Mr. Patil, for joining us and sharing your thoughts, your experiences. I'm sure it's quite an insightful conversation that we've had, and all the participants are going to learn quite a lot out of this, and we hope that the adoption of apprenticeship in our country increases. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sumit, for having us.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.